was a decent episode. It is known for being the first episode written by writers Tom Gamble and Max Pross, who Jerry said in an interview in the Inside Look, stating that, back in season 4, the original idea of Seinfeld was just to, do like stuff that people in everyday lives can relate to. Season 4, they started getting a little bit of like the wackiness and not as relatable things. Still some very simple, of course, like, losing glasses, but, how you adapt to it by, using prescription goggles, or, just unfortunate events of George mistaking Jerry's cousin for a horse. But it was more so like, Gamble and Pross were the two that kind of like took it a little bit of a step further. Helped Seinfeld take a little more of a bigger step out of their comfort zone. That gave them something different to work with in those middle seasons. But the glasses, of course, was the first episode that they wrote, which just came simply from the idea of Tom Gamble once losing his glasses at a health club, and until he got new glasses, had walked around wearing prescription swimming goggles, as George did throughout most of this episode. A couple small stories. Decent episode. Not one that stands out to me too much, but it's a decent episode, I would say. So the story goes, at the beginning of the episode, Jerry and Elaine are discussing about spitting at someone going out the window. He's also saying how Kramer is getting him this new air conditioner from an appliance store. And apparently he got a 30% discount on it. And Kramer, of course, is bragging about how good it's going to be and whatnot. When George comes in, he comes in wearing swimming goggles. And he says while he was at the health club, while he was in the pool, some guy walks off with his glasses and steals his glasses. So until he gets a new pair, he's wearing these prescription goggles. It's the only way he can really see. Of course, he looks like, like Aquaman. We'll have to start making the Aquaman jokes and whatnot. Kramer, though, talks George into going to the same appliance store where he got the air conditioner. He says, the guy there, Dwayne, will give him a 30% discount if he just mentions that he knows Kramer. So George decides to, take up on the offer. So Jerry and Elaine join him to go help him pick out glasses. But like every pair that he tries on, it's the same thing. It's like, yeah, George, we like them. Yeah, George, we like them. It's like they just want George just to pick a pair and just move on. While that's going on, though, a guy with a dog walks in. And Elaine is like admiring the dog, says, "Can I pet your dog?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, sure." Well, Elaine pets the dog, and the dog bites Elaine's leg. But it's like the dog bites, and then as soon as Dwayne says, "Hey, you can't bring it in here," like the next cut, it's like the guy's already walking out with the dog like it's no big deal. George, though, goes to chase after the guy, and he's wearing one of the frames. But of course, the lenses inside the frames aren't, real, because, they have to, be a certain prescription. So he runs out trying to chase after the guy who had the dog without really even caring for Elaine at all. But when he's out there, he sees something. So of course, like I said, he's not wearing the prescription glasses. He's just wearing glasses with just complete glass in the frames, and he starts squinting. He sees something. So then Elaine's back inside. Elaine saying she needs to be taken to the emergency room. George, of course, comes back in, and it's like George is having one conversation, Elaine's having another as normal. So Elaine needs to get rushed to the hospital, but George is acting weird. And finally, after going back and forth, George finally tells Jerry that he thinks he saw Jerry's girlfriend, Amy, kissing Jerry's cousin, Jeffrey. But he's like, "How could you see it? You're blind as a bat. There's no frames under those glasses." He says, "I know, I was squinting." And he claims he's a good squinter. He bragged about something with him spotting raccoons one time when he didn't have his glasses. It's like whenever he bragged about, always used to brag about his great parking, or all his other stuff he thinks he was good with, which he really wasn't. No offense, George. So of course, Jerry, doesn't know what to do. Believe his girlfriend or believe his best friend. So, But in the meantime, he takes Elaine to the hospital. The doctors and Elaine, the doctor's not communicating well. And the doctor's saying he's okay. So Elaine says, "Well, do I need to get a rabies shot?" Because she's worried that what if that dog bite gave her rabies. And he goes, "No shot, just bite." But she's trying to say, "Yeah, I get it. It was not. It was from a dog bite. But do I need to get a rabies shot because I got bit by that dog?" And he kept saying, "Dog bite, not shot. It went woof woof, not bang bang," which wasn't getting across. So then Elaine, for a few days, starts panicking that she may have rabies. Which, to finish up that story, she keeps looking up, symptoms of rabies, keep thinking that she has the symptoms. And, of course, Kramer even says how Bob Sacamano had rabies one time, and finally, Elaine freaking out, she finally goes back to the doctors, and the same doctor gives her a rabies shot just to, make her not feel as paranoid. George, meanwhile, though, while that's all going on, back at the appliance store, picks out another pair of glasses that he asks Dwayne, what does he think? And Dwayne says they look good. So George is like, "I'll take them. These feel right," even though, again, he can't see a thing. So he puts them down and he's ready to order them, and George just says, "Kramer." He goes, "What?" "Kramer." "Yeah, cool, whatever," basically. And George doesn't get a discount. And then, little does he know, though, George ordered ladies' frames. Because later, of course, back at the apartment, they're waiting for, later, Jerry was at the apartment watching the movie with Amy, and Jerry, the cable goes out. Jerry calls the cable saying he wants to find something out. And he's trying to feel around to see if Amy would reveal or not if she was cheating on him with his cousin Jeffrey. Finally, he comes out and says that George saw him, but of course, and then Amy keeps saying, "It wasn't me. I did not cheat on you. I don't even know your cousin Jeffrey." So George believes her, but then of course, he believes her and he believes George. He doesn't believe his best friend or his girlfriend. And of course, now he's complaining about that how George has has forced him to expose his bad side, his ugly side already, which he didn't want to do for another 6 months. He said he was going to do, and then George saying, "I saw what I saw." And of course, this is before he got his glasses, and he had his goggles off, and he goes, "Oh, hey, look, a dime." He spots a dime far away, but then he couldn't tell the difference between an apple and an onion. And of course, then Kramer gets the air conditioner, comes in, but then of course George tells Kramer that he didn't get his discount, and then George goes down and complains because, Kramer goes down and complains because he says that I owe that guy. So he says he got him off sugar, and he puts a candy bar in his face and basically pressures Dwayne into reconsidering, and finally gives in and decides to give George his discount for his new frames. Of course, Elaine though wants to know that the guy's name of who had that dog, who had that dog that bit her, because she basically wants to sue him pretty much. So then I think it was so Jerry's still going back and forth about Amy. So he's trying to figure out how to prove it to him that again, this is all about, there was two sides to all the stories in this episode, basically. With George and, did someone steal the glasses or did he forget the glasses? Elaine with, do I have rabies or I don't have rabies? With Jerry is Amy cheating on me or is she not cheating on me? It was all back and forth. And Kramer was just just playing the middleman, basically. Eventually, but again, I already ended got to the ending of the Elaine story. Kramer did install that very good air conditioner he was bragging about. There was a point also where Jerry and Elaine look out the window and they saw the guy with the dog that was at the store the other day. And basically she's chewing him out, and basically he's basically not refusing to cooperate. Well, the air conditioner though wobbled out the window, and Kramer tried to stop the air conditioner from falling, but unfortunately it snapped off the cord and it landed on the poor dog. Elaine also was afraid of dogs after that dog bite, by the way. But it landed on the dog. Probably most likely it didn't survive. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It did survive because when when George and Kramer went back to get that discount, um, or was it when George? Well, one of the ways George had went back to get the discount, but there was one point. No, it was not that. I remember what it is now. Anyway, so I get off track there. So that happened there, and then George then got his glasses, and of course he realized too as well that they're ladies' frames, and he's upset about that. And then he was at the health club, and he sees a blind man who asks for help to find his locker. He then, of course, then thinks he sees the guy who stole his glasses and chases him out to the streets, and then him and the blind man have a talk, and the blind man says he doesn't like his glasses because they pinch his nose. But then George realizes that I can maybe switch frames with this guy, and he can take the ladies' frames and he won't know because he can't see. So, of course, he also again thinks he sees Amy kissing Jeffrey, and then then he goes back to the appliance store. While he's there, he's already hot because he then tells Dwayne he wants the frame switched and he'd like a discount. And then George says, you better give me a discount because you're lucky. And he's not asking for a full refund because you sold him ladies' frames. Which, of course, the blind man said, what's the thing about ladies' frames? And George tries, get him to not wonder about it. And then the guy with the dog comes in. The dog now has a cone around his head. And he basically wanted to know the name of the woman who the dog had bit the other day. And then George says, well, yeah, she lives on, says, oh, he lives on 81st Street, West 81st Street. He goes, oh, no, Jerry does. He goes, oh, what apartment is he in? And George's already hot from, the discount. So he goes, 5A. He didn't know that the guy went to Jerry's and basically made him pay for the vet bill for his air conditioner falling on his dog. Of course, Lane got the shot. And I think there was a deleted scene, actually, where Kramer, for some reason, lost a 30% discount from Dwayne. But George gets the glasses switched. But before I get to when he came out for getting his glasses, the frames switched, Jerry then, to try to prove that Amy and Jeffrey weren't seeing each other, he takes him over to Jeffrey. Says Jeffrey's going to give him tickets to go see a Paul Simon show. When he gets there, though, Uncle Leo's there instead. Of course, is Jeffrey's father. Gives him the tickets, but then says Jeffrey can't make it because he had something else going on tonight. And he also thought that Amy and Jeffrey could be seeing each other because Amy likes parks and Jeffrey works for the park department. But then Uncle Leo says Jeffrey told me to tell you that he's sorry, hopes to forgive him. And Amy and Jerry immediately thinks that it's Jerry. Thinking he discovered that Jeffrey and Amy were cheating each other, but Uncle Leo's like, no, it's not that. It's the fact that the seats are too good. And Jerry's like, oh, want to get pizza? Things all's good. I'm pretty sure Amy broke up with him after that. But when George came out of the appliance store with the blind man, of course, which he agreed that they do pinch the nose, and then the blind man goes, well, the deal's a deal. And then George again thinks he sees Jeffrey and Amy kissing, until he puts the glasses on and realizes that it's a policewoman kissing a horse. And before they talk about how apparently cousin Jeffrey looks like a horse, has a horse face to him. So everything just blew up in smokes. And then at the end of the episode, they're at the health club again. They were talking, of course, how George, he could see a dime, but he couldn't tell an onion. He couldn't tell Jeffrey from a horse. And then George is complaining again about those glasses, pinch his nose, and he says he would love to find that son of a gun who stole his glasses. Meanwhile, they're sitting right above his locker as the episode ends. That's it. It's a decent episode. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites, but it's not one of my least favorites either. It's a decent episode. Of course, there is a deleted scene, though, showing the back of Jeffrey and Amy making out on the couch. I guess we were going to show that after this whole time they were, secretly seeing each other, but that got deleted from the episode. Of course, we never actually saw cousin Jeffrey, but he was always kind of viewed as like an enemy for Jerry because Uncle Leo always talked him up so much, big time, which didn't really make him a complete enemy of Jerry's, but more so just like a guy that Jerry was tired of hearing about. But I don't think we actually ever saw cousin Jeffrey on TV. But yeah, that's the glasses. We'll move on to the next episode, which is a pretty big one. It's also one that it's not one of my top favorites, but you think Seinfeld, this is another one of those episodes that just stand out to you because of what the episode is, what was the episode, and how the main item in this episode, which is part of the title, was put into a museum. So that'll be my next video, guys. What are your thoughts, though, again, on the glasses? Leave your thoughts down in the comment section below. Be sure as always to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content to my channel, and follow me on Twitter as well at TheManAirBoy93. Till then, guys, I'll see y'all soon. Catch y'all next time, guys. Peace out, everybody.